We're live.
We're live. Excellent. Happy Halloween yesterday.
Yeah, let me tell you about that. We had 50-mile-an-hour winds.
I know.
And rain, and I think even if that wouldn't have happened, there would be no trick-or-treaters. Our area of the suburbs, I think it's like now most of the kids go to like parties and they don't trick-or-treat.
Yeah, that happens near us. But we had about 6 kids, but we had good weather. I mean, it was raining part of the day. Then it was about 73 degrees, and it didn't rain at night. Yeah. So that was an unusually warm Halloween. So there were people out. But you're right. Most of them went to parties.
Yeah,
it would be really bad. So in our neighborhood, they decided sort of to move it to Friday, Halloween. So we have a lot of kids, and yet because it was actually turned out to be very nice, in like the hours between like 6 and 10, we had a lot of trick or treaters.
Well, I mentioned yesterday in my neighborhood. Back in the day, back in the olden days, back in the 20th century when I was a kid.
Yeah. In the 1900s.
Yeah, there you go. They back in the horse and buggy days, they used to do do trick or treating on the day before Halloween, on the 30th.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, you're allegedly in New York. We didn't do that.
I mean, you know what's died? That tradition I think died with our generation is Mischief Night.
Right.
That was a lot of fun. Like, and the concept of Mischief Night was, for those of you young ones out there,
was that egg throwing night?
Yeah, like you would throw eggs around. You would toilet paper.
You might flour your friends.
Put soap on someone's window.
Yeah.
It was the night before Halloween. So it was like Halloween Eve. So my job every year, though, what I loved Mischief Night for the fact that I loved to be on the defensive. So What I would do is I would collect all year long. Like I worked at this place where they're near a tennis court, right? And their tennis balls would come flying over all the time. So I would constantly collect tennis balls and throw them in my trunk all year long. Mischief Night would come, and I would go onto I could walk up the side of my roof and then go to a flat part of my roof of my house where no one could see me at all. And on that part of my house, I would sit there all night and look at people as they walked by, trying to like soap or toilet paper things, and peg them with tennis balls from the sky. And no one had any idea where they were coming from because you couldn't see me.
Nice.
It was a blast.
I like that.
It was a blast. So it was like, defending my land type thing. Yeah, it was great.
I did want to mention yesterday, you weren't on the show, but Mike, I put up the new graph for the pizza challenge so people can go check it out at sportsology.com.
I tweeted it.
And Celeste,
my hat. So I can't
No, that's better. That's good. Leave it alone. And Celeste Pizza did overtake one of the incumbents, but I won't say who.
What I was surprised at is that you included Celeste Pizza's Twitter feed, and it had a grand total of 35.
That made me laugh too.
35 followers.
That's it.
Yes, we do want to bring this up because
it might be a fan page, Mike. Who knows?
Oh, maybe one of the guys put together like that follows me, a guy named Flinter. He does a lot of video snippets for the Leaf games.
Okay.
And yesterday he put out sort of like a fake lineup, or how us reporters will tweet out like the line combinations and defensive pairings for the games. And what he did was he put line combinations and defensive pairings for Halloween candy. And I know Kevin McGran tweeted something, and because it was mostly Canadian candy, they're the Smarties and things of that nature. Mars bars in Canada are basically Milky Ways because they don't have almonds, and in the US they have almonds. They had Coffee Crisp on the number one line. I was completely upset they didn't have Caramilk on there. Caramilk bars are phenomenal, and they didn't have them on.
Is that a Cadbury thing?
I think so. Caramel, basically. I mean, I think
I had that as a kid. They're pretty good. My grandmother used to get that at like the import store.
Okay. By the way, I've taken a vote. The viewers like the side by side rather than the 3 smaller windows. So
like this one?
Yeah, they like.
I'm really glad I cleaned this part of my room over here. If we're going,
I'm flipping you the bird in both sides. No, just
I do think it's important to say though that.
Sorry.
Because companies spend all of this time, like a year in advance, to get this Halloween candy ready. you also have to remember that those little bite-sized things are like 1/10 of a candy bar. Like when we were kids, we gave out a full bar, right?
Oh yeah, no, that was a big deal. And like in the neighborhood,
Nobody does that now.
I was in a upper middle class, like my parents did well, but there was a really wealthy neighborhood near us, and that was like definitely upper class, and we would walk there because they would give out, big Hershey bars and stuff like that.
Right.
And now, man, oh man, have you seen the size of the mini candies now?
Yeah.
They only put one letter, like for Three Musketeers, there's a T.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
The Butterfinger bite-sized bar is about as big as the top.
Yeah. It's actually some size is about right. That is about like if that much of it, that's about it. And like I'm a big my favorite candy is Almond Joy. I'm an Almond Joy fan. I'm a big coconut.
I like Almond Joy.
Coconut and chocolate. I've always liked the combination. Like
I'd like to know what these stores do, because I mean, you go into a store the couple days before Halloween, and they have literally like thousands of bags of these bite-sized candies, and there's no way that they all get sold. And there's no
they clear them out. I started buying some yesterday at a reduced price.
Yeah, no, ours was buy two get one free. Yes, the day before Halloween, the day before Halloween, it was buy two get one free.
I want to mention, on the American side, yeah, I mean, Reese's peanut butter cups are good. 100 grand. I don't seem to eat them most of the year, but I'll eat them at Halloween time. But I like them a lot. The interesting thing about Canada is, I noticed that Bounty are essentially Mounds bars and but with milk chocolate, and I like that. So that's a good one. And Aero, like to me, Aero beats all the Canadian bars.
Yes, and Aero, and they've done this for a few years. It used to be just like it's like a malted milk center with the chocolate coating. Now they're doing it different flavors. They have a mint version. I
have the mint. That's good.
Yeah. It's really, really good. I mean, like I said, I can't do this all the time because I'm a diabetic, and if I start eating candy like that, I'm going to be
the wrong time of year for you, man. It's really hard. It's so like we had so much candy here, and we never give it all out. And our neighbors next to us, they're diabetic, and they always bring over their extra candy. So really good. So it's like and it's impossible. I mean, I will eat as many Almond Joys as you can throw in front of me. Like I've got to just walk away from the table.
Yeah. Okay, here let's answer this question, and then we'll start the show. What is your least favorite popular candy bar? Like it's very popular, and you just don't like it.
Okay. Yeah, I would say Snickers bar.
Bingo, that's me.
Really?
Yeah.
Snickers are good. What is the matter with you?
No. I mean, it's funny because they've got great marketing too, because like they have this whole thing of like you eat a Snickers bar, get you through it, and so I've done that. I've actually like subconsciously like, oh man, I need something quick. What can get me through? And I bought a single Snickers bar, even though I'm not a big caramel guy. I guess like caramel's kind of like
a Snickers bar is a Milky Way with peanuts.
Yeah, Snickers doesn't have caramel. It's really nougat.
Yeah, it's nougat. Yeah.
Yeah, that's different than caramel. So I'm not going to give a bar, but I'm going to tell you that Skittles are poison.
Skittles.
Skittles are just awful.
Yeah, I don't like Skittles either. I agree with you on that one.
It's something with
they look like M&M's, which are like some of the best candy.
Well, that's the worst part. At a Flyers game, when you're hoping to get, they put them side by side. You've got to do a double take.
Yeah, they do. They have a thing of Skittles and a thing of M&M's there, and at the Flyers game, and it's like and when you end up with the Skittles instead, you're like, oh my god, what have I done?
Well, we know that every time that Russ goes to a Flyers game, we get the obligatory Swedish fish shot. Right. Now that I'm going to Sabres games regularly, they have a tower of candy that like with Reese's Pieces and
they do it up there in that locker.
So it's like I have to stay away from that corner.
But the Boston dessert table, I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean,
I'm surprised Ty isn't like mainlining insulin because
you go up there and there's like full eclairs, like
I know it's the best in the league.
I mean, their dessert table, and I mean, it was funny. I forget who it was. I think it was James Duffy the other day. Someone tweeted out, "What's the greatest thing in sports besides?" Someone said, "What's the greatest thing to a sports writer besides a Game 7?" And James Duffy reply was, The media meal is at 4 p.m. or something like that. Like some kind of statement. It's like true for everyone in the media.
Yeah, but that's only great if it's free. If it's not free,
I'll pay $10 for good media meals. But like in Boston, they'll bring out.
I'm telling you, go cover a Hershey Bears game. You will get Hershey's chocolate cheesecake there, and that's great.
I have to give the Sabres, and I promise we'll start after this. I have to give the Sabres thumbs up for their upgrading of their in the press box. Now they have like soft pretzels, sushi, different variety of stuff in there, like hot dogs or sausages or chicken fingers or whatever. It's they really stepped up their game, and
But Mike, tell the ridiculous story, because for whatever reason, media members value ice cream over everything else. and like, so we don't get ice cream in Philly. They did have an ice cream bar once when Philly was the worst team in hockey, and they wanted to sort of soothe the beast. But like apparently in Toronto, they don't give enough ice cream to actually serve all the media.
I actually appreciate this because, again, I'm a type 2 diabetic, so I don't need the ice cream, but they have a small refrigerator and they load it up with ice cream in the middle of the first period with Oreos ice cream sandwiches and cones.
Oh my gosh.
And they're literally all the reporters during the first period and the intermission go at it, and by the time, if you don't get there by a certain time, they're gone.
It's amazing.
Which I just laugh at. It's just
first come, first serve. I appreciate them even giving us that. It's like we get.
No, I'm not saying you shouldn't appreciate it. I just think it's funny that they just fill it up, and if it's not enough, they don't care.
Yeah, you get a chance to go to Hershey. First of all, it's a great place to watch a game, but also the actual Hershey Park where you can take the chocolate tour.
Yeah, I've done that.
All right, let's get started here.
We better get started.
The natives.
All right, here we go. All right, I think we're good. Let's do it. Here we go. Man, Stuttering Guitarist says his dad was from Britain and he would make eclairs with Nutella. That sounds pretty friggin' good.
Yeah, Nutella's gross.
I love
it. It's pretty good.
I can eat it for like a minute, then I start like.
Good for you too,
Oh yeah.
All right, here we go. It's November, man. It's November. Crazy. Hello, Hockey World. It's Friday, November 1st, 2019.
I'm Michael Agello, and I'm still loving the fact that the Houston Astros choked.
Oh, man.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology, and I don't get this guy.
I'm Eklund, and I don't. Thank God that sport that we play 350 games in a season is over. We're happy. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday in the afternoons or sometimes mornings like this to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And I've got a blog today, and it's funny because I'm always looking for something. Like the guys here, they wanted to do a show early today, so I'm like, oh man, so I'm scrambling. I'm trying to find something to write about before the show, figuring out I wasn't going to get anything good till after the show. And at 10:15, I get a call from someone who said, the Sharks are really out there and they're trying to make a move. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, who could they make? We were sitting there talking, who could they make a move with? Well, the team they've talked to the most is Toronto. And I'm like, oh God, like everybody talks to Toronto. I'm thinking this is crazy. Do I really want to put Toronto in another rumor? Because I know we're in a rumor yesterday, like I talked about Toronto yesterday. But obviously they're struggling, all this stuff's happening. So, I mean, they whatever. So, so I talked to him and he says, well, there's the thing about the Sharks. Okay, first of all, they're a -16 goal differential, which is second to last in the league. Only the Kings are worse, and the Sharks are tied with the Red Wings right now. And we all knew they would have trouble keeping the puck out of their net. We kind of figured that they were going to have their goaltending was struggling. It has. I mean, their goaltending is struggling lately, and obviously they're not looking at Toronto for goaltending. But the thing that's funny about it, they are in the NHL in defense, which is, I wouldn't have put them there, at all. I mean, I did predict the Sharks would finish 6th place, if you remember, right? And the Oilers finish first right now. Who's in what position?
Yeah, it looks good in October, right?
Looks pretty good right now. November actually, aggressive.
Yeah.
So I was talking to him and he said, well, they have these three they're one of the only teams, they might be the only team in the NHL, I didn't have time to look it up, that has spent almost exactly the same amount on their top 6 defenses they've spent on their top 12 forwards, which is like a crazy number, right? When you think about that, that's 36, and it's like 36 and 36 roughly for each of them. Their top four forwards being, of course, the lion's share in Carlson, Burns, Vlasic, and even Brendan Dillon makes 3.2, right? So you're looking at those 4 are all significant. Those 4 alone are like $30 million. Or even more than that, I think.
Well,
so
think and they got rid of Braun. Otherwise, think about what that.
Oh, this is why. I mean, you see now why Braun and Pavelski are not there, because they have $300,000 they're $300,000 under the cap. The Sharks are, so they are not in a spot to take on any money. However, the interesting thing about them is they have all of their big players, with the exception of Brendan Dillon, signed for the next couple of years. Right. And next year they're at $64 million. So when you think about that, that gives them some money next year to play with, or some deals they can make of players moving that are going to be signed in the future, right. Ways they could help out teams. So all right, so they're sitting there. They've got. Could they really move one of those top three defensemen? No, I mean, Carlson's. Okay. Move Carlson. Okay, let's take him out. That's $11 million. Okay, that's obvious. That would be insane. Okay, he's like, yeah, they could move one of the top three defensemen, and I said no one's going to take Carlson. That's what I said to him on the phone. I'm like, no one. And he's like, yeah, but I've been told they could move one of those top three defensemen, so that's what I wrote. So I'm going to get killed for it, but that's what I wrote. They went top three defensemen. Okay. All right, so yeah, I'm almost going to let you go, Mike, because I know you're chomping at the bit to tell me how wrong I am. And then we have so then you have Vlasic, who's having a really rough year, and Burns, who is he's a great defenseman, who's all over but he's look at the Sharks. They definitely need to score. No one thought they'd be 25th in offense. I mean, that's a terrible. The Sharks have scoring, right? Meanwhile, in Toronto, you've got a team that doesn't have hardly has any defensemen signed for next year, and except for the one, and has a couple forwards that are probably bonus forwards that they could maybe move in Nylander and Kapanen. Now obviously the money wouldn't match up. The Sharks would have to retain money on a deal like this, and
that's the problem.
And it's not a problem when you look at the fact that they do have this cap space moving forward. Because remember, Thornton and Marleau are probably not, who knows how many years they're going to come back. So at this point, and Marleau's really cheap, but even Thornton, so they could keep half the money on somebody like Vlasic or somebody like Burns.
Right, but the problem is that when you retain for the length of the contract. And with and if San Jose has soured so much on Vlasic that they're willing to retain 50% of his salary, which is $3.5 million for 6 more years, which I believe is the length of the deal. He's 6 more years after this year. He's $7 million for the next 6 years after this year. He's 32 years old, so he signed 39.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a desire here for the Leafs it's a win now scenario, but I simply do not see how it's possible. I mean, first of all, if you're talking about like them not retaining anything, then the only guy that matches up salary for salary would be Nylander. Yeah. And you're talking about trading a 23-year-old forward for a 32-year-old defenseman. That's not happening. If you look at the Shark situation, Carlson's got a no move. Vlasic has a no move. And Burns is the only one that's movable in the sense of he has a modified no trade. So they could trade him, and we don't know whether Toronto is on their list or not. But the thing is, Burns is the last type of defenseman the Leafs need. He's an offenseman. He's like Barry. He's a better version of Barry or Gardner, but he's like that, and that's not the type of defenseman they need. So I don't see there's any possibility. Right. Go ahead.
I'll go with this. I think they would go for the Vlasic type, and I don't think Vlasic's done. But I have to ask this question because I'm looking over the Sharks system. You trade Vlasic, they've already got Mario Ferraro in there. Who exactly are you putting on the blue line?
Yeah,
Merkley.
I mean, he's got
ready yet.
10 games. He's not mentally mature to play in the NHL. So I don't think Merkley even plays in the NHL next year. Yeah, and Miwa, who's really good but has had major injury issues. And he played 58 games last year. He's playing 7 right now. He's not had enough games. So they don't even have anybody who you could put in there. So even if they did this, they would have a patchwork defense, and their season would definitely be over. Like, it's not even a question.
They would have a patchwork defense. You're right. And you could argue that they're 25th in the league defensively. With that defense you can either say that defense is playing poorly, which it is, or you can say that defense is keeping them from being 38th in the league, because I
get that, but it's really the goaltending that's that gives the defense no confidence. And,
yeah, I agree with that.
And that's where I think they really need to focus on.
Yeah, and the fact you really have, Vlasic is really the only pure defensive defenseman they have, and
Right.
And that is Vaughn, the one Braun, who they let trade to Philly or let go to Philly. We're gonna make we're making coffee over there. Sorry if you can hear that. You can't hear that sound?
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay. Hey, all right, never mind. I'm gonna mute myself for a second. Yeah, Braun, who they traded to Philly, he was defensive defenseman.
Yeah, right. And if you're talking about if cap considerations be damned, if it was simply the defenseman who would help out the Leafs the most in their current predicament, it would be Vlasic. But Vlasic, again, he's 32. He's declining. Last year, he played really bad at times. People thought, what's going on? But, remember, this is a guy who eats 20 minutes a night, blocks shots, is a defensive beast. Now he's a right-handed shot, so that he'd be still attractive, but he's at an age and in terms of wear and tear where you're looking at maybe a window of 2 to 3 years where he's effective, and then he's a boat anchor in terms of a contract. So I think the Sharks are stuck with the 3 defensemen. Now, granted, I think they're going to play better. I think they're going to play better going forward. And I think that Doug Wilson might be looking to make some sort of shakeup because he doesn't have a history of firing coaches during seasons. He's only had 2 coaches. This is his 3rd coach, DeBoer. Ron Wilson and McClellan were his 2, and that was over, I think, 15 or 16 years. So they're not going to fire anybody, but they might shake up the roster. But I don't see how it's possible, at least in the Toronto perspective. If there's other teams out there, I'll give you a team that it makes perfect sense for them to trade for a big price defenseman like a Vlasic who might help a young team win a cup. Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Now they've got a lot of good young defensemen coming, and they might not want to have a $7 million cap hit. But if you're talking about a team that is looking for, basically another Adam Foote type of veteran guy who could solidify their blue line if they decide they're going to make a cup run, then Vlasic would make a lot of sense for a young team like Colorado. But I just don't see – it's tough to move those contracts unless you're getting back a contract that is just as long.
Yeah, again, if you look at it, I was just looking at the goaltending tandems in the league, they're probably 4th or 5th worst.
Oh yeah, they are. They're 4th or 5th worst.
I think honestly, where Wilson is going to go in terms of addressing this need, and it may have to be sooner rather than later, is to add a goaltender, because I think he can do that. And a team like Ottawa with Craig Anderson, who, we know Ottawa is bottoming out this year. We know they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league.
They're going to do this too, because as Barticus points out in the chat room, they have traded their Ottawa might not want to do that. They traded their draft pick, their 1st-round draft pick to Ottawa, this year coming up. So Ottawa has the Sharks' 1st pick, and it's not lottery protected.
Right.
So, I don't know that they're going to be giving them a goalie.
No, that's fair. But there's other teams, but it's hard to do it now. It's hard to get a team to do it now unless you're taking someone who's strictly in the AHL and making a deal. And so, that's where you have to look at it. Who are you going to get in the AHL that would be better than Martin Jones, or at least better than Aaron Dell?
I would think, I would think that, I would think Jimmy Howard would be possible.
Yeah, it's got to be an NHL goaltender from a team that we expect, or that right now we look at and say they're going to be bottom dwellers.
You have to trade Jones for Jimmy Howard. Money wise, you can't swing that.
Right.
Yeah. No, you're right. Plus I really want.
Ideally, you want Jones to be the backup, and you want to get somebody else in there and let him watch for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could you trade for Antti Ranta with Arizona because Kemper is the number 1?
I don't think they do it, only because I feel like they think they're in the race, and so far they are. So I don't think they would do that.
Yeah, and I want to talk today about the goaltending tandems list that I put up the other day. We can get into that. But I want Craig Anderson to go to Toronto just so the Babcock has to say Anderson's playing well.
Again, it's not happening.
He's making a joke, Mike.
Why wouldn't it happen, Mike? Why wouldn't it happen?
Because they're in a money in, money out scenario right now. They're up against the cap. They said
somebody off their hands.
What's that?
Ottawa would take somebody off their hands.
They don't really have anybody to take off their hands.
They really have somebody to take off their hands.
No, I'm saying like right now, who's the player on the Leafs roster who's making way too much that they would dump to open up cap space for somebody else? They don't want to dump Janssen or Kapanen. They don't want to give away Nylander. Cody Ceci might be the only one, and Cody Ceci's on their top defensive pairing right now. So there really is nobody to sort of like. I mean, if you get a defenseman for Cody Ceci, if the team will take that back and that's a way of improving your blue line, okay, that's a money in, money out scenario. You're trading cap space for cap space. And they would probably have to add a young asset on top of that to make that kind of deal. But no, I mean, right now they sent Nick Patan down to the minors this morning to open up $750,000 or $775,000 in cap space. They're going to be at 21 players when Zach Hyman comes back. They have no room.
Oh, no. I know they don't, but I don't know. At some point,
there's no great solution here for the Sharks.
At some point, someone's going to get hurt on Toronto. They're going to get hurt on Toronto. They're going to open up cap space near the deadline, and they're going to have.
That could happen.
I mean, they have no choice but to bring in a backup. They have no choice. They have to bring in a backup. If they're a playoff team, unless they're not making the playoffs, they're going to have to bring in a backup.
Then this is the interesting thing over the last couple of days, and they have injuries right now, but nothing that will qualify to put on long-term injury. Muzzin had a Charlie horse from a Tom Wilson hit on Tuesday. Tavares is practicing, but he's been out 2 weeks with a broken finger. If they decide that Hutchinson is not good enough to be their backup, they have nobody in the organization to fill in for him. And right now there's talk about them like moving out on Nick Patan or moving out on Martin Marincin. And the only reason that they're doing that is because they're at 49 pro contracts. They can't add somebody. They'd be at 50 and then they'd have no flexibility whatsoever. So they're between a rock and a hard place right now. They need to, before anything, they need to play up to their expectations to take the pressure off. And I don't think a trade or any kind of tweaking move is going to make the difference. Now,
let's let me briefly get into my other blog from 2 days ago now, and then we'll get off the Toronto topic. But so we talked about it the day before in the podcast, and then I had somebody contact me who said that didn't agree with what you were saying, Mike, or what the Toronto media was saying, this is not your.
I'm just kidding.
No, but you're right. I mean, you're writing and saying what everybody up there is writing and saying, and that because that is what you're all being told. That the Babcock is safe, for now. That he's going to be, that they're going to see him through the playoffs, and everything's going to be, if he doesn't do well in the playoffs, or maybe doesn't make the playoffs, or whatever, that's a problem. Mm-hmm. But I'm hearing this guy I was talking, just hearing quite the opposite. That they have to make the playoffs. That they will make a move if they are not in the playoff run by like Christmas. Right. I mean, if they're not definitely like in a space that they don't have to worry. I mean, you have to give if they don't have a buffer of 6 or 7, 8 points, or whatever.
Well, that's pretty much what I've been saying, in the sense that the only way Babcock gets fired in season is that they lose 12 games in a row. If they're 12, 14, 16 points out of a playoff spot, if they're within, I mean, right now.
No, my guy was saying the opposite. My guy was saying that they have to be 6 points in a playoff spot for him to be safe.
I honestly, I don't know who it is, and I don't want to know. I just think that they're way, way off base.
I mean, this is the thing that's been obvious to me, and why I kind of buy it is that it's been obvious they've been so. The Leafs, ever since Brian Burke left, have been so all about basically putting out messages and controlling the conversation with their team, like all the time. They have control. They're very much, they're saying, okay, this is what's happening. Whether it was when they started off, we're gonna have years of pain, to Babcock has been very much like, he said whatever they wanted him to say, he's done that. And and then that's that's growing. That's getting a little bit old for Mike Babcock because he doesn't, he wants to keep his job. Obviously, he's got the money; it doesn't matter. But he's got a lot of ego, a lot of pride. So he's going to keep the money and keep his job, right? So that's But at this point, really, when you look at that and what he brought up, and we've obviously said it many times, is that they are built to win this year. Like this is a year that they are built to win because after this year, that it gets significantly harder because they're going to have to bring those defense. They won't be able to bring their whole defense back.
No.
They'll have to figure out something else.
No, but I think that's why they're seeing it through with him. Like they're not firing him.
I mean, the thing is right now, and again, once you've turned over 1/3 of your roster, it would be irresponsible for them to fire Babcock in November or December when he's got 2 new guys on defense, 3-4 new forwards. There is an adjustment period, and I said at the beginning of the season it was they were probably going to start out slow and ironically, the guys who have started out slow have been the core guys and not the new guys. But still, there's an area of adjustment. But the whole point here is, if there was a want from Kyle Dubas to fire Babcock during the summer, he had the power to do it. It was not something where Brendan Shanahan said, "No, Kyle, you can't do it." It was reported widely that Dubas had full autonomy to do what he wanted to do with the coaching staff. Now they let go of the assistants. They brought in Dave Haxtell to handle the defense, Paul McFarland to handle the forwards and the power play. Yeah. Right now, it's not working. It's 13 games into the season. With Montreal's victory yesterday against Vegas, the Leafs are out of a playoff spot by 1 point. Yep. Everything, but nobody expects Buffalo to be in the top 3 in the Atlantic. Nobody expects Tampa Bay to be out on the outside looking in.
That's the thing. I mean, you can take Buffalo out of there; it doesn't matter because everyone thinks Tampa's in, and if you think Tampa's,
but they're all jumbled together. The Leafs are playing their worst hockey that they've played. And they're right there in terms of so imagine if they actually play the way they're expected to, which is like win 7 of 10 games, then they'll be in pretty good shape. I don't think that this is something where he is in danger right now. Like I said, if January 1st comes around and they're 8 to 10 points out of a playoff spot, then he might be in a little bit of trouble. But they're only going to be that way if they lose again, like 10 games in a row.
Plus, if they fire him now, they ruin a whole summer of blaming for Leafs fans of Babcock. You don't want to do that. The other thing is with this game coming up with Philly, with the Leafs having this rest, I expect them to come out pretty hard against Philly. I think Philly will have trouble keeping up with their speed. If something else shows up on the ice, maybe I change my mind, but I doubt it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. They're gonna have a real tough time against Philly. There's no question about it.
No, they're not gonna.
I think they're gonna have a tough time against them. Sorry, that's what I meant. I'm on that 100%. I think that's 100% true. I mean, to me, the issue is more like, okay, Nylander's playing well. Matthews is obviously Tavares is hurt, although I guess he's skating now, right?
He's probably going to play. It looks like he's taking line rushes today at practice. It looks like he'll be back tomorrow against Philly.
Right. So so that's.
I'm going to put him in on fantasy, Mike. No, you said that.
But Jake Muzzin probably won't be in the lineup, and then that means the perennial Norris Trophy candidate Martin Marincin will get in the lineup.
If I put him in and he doesn't play, Mike, it's on you.
Okay.
Oh man. No. Yeah. So to me, he's got to get Marner, Tavares, and Matthews. They have to be playing well.
Right.
Like that's the key. Like if there's issues, if there continue to be issues, like Marner's not playing that well. If they're Matthews is playing well.
Marner's generating points. He's scoring at a 90-point pace, but he's not playing as well defensively. I'm not going to give all the takeaway all blame because Tavares is hurt or because Zach Hyman's out, but there is a level of comfort when you play with a certain line, and when those guys aren't around, then it's the more the focus is on you. They're paying him almost $11 million. They expect him to.
When you get $11 million, it doesn't matter if they're out. That's for sure. So I agree with that. So I think that's what's going to come down to, and they have to the problem is they are dealing with a division where Buffalo is better than everyone thought they would be. Tampa's going to be better for sure. Florida is good, really, and Florida is going to be a factor. We all kind of knew Florida would be a factor, but they're going to be a factor. Then Boston is just Boston. They're running away with it. So,
I mean, my point of view is that, I mean, I thought there would be a chance that Boston was gonna have a little bit of a hangover. They haven't. There's a professional team that wins. Tampa has too much talent not to be better than they are right now.
Yeah,
Florida is better. I don't think I don't think Buffalo is for real. I think this is a blip. I think that they'll come back down to earth as the season goes along. If they don't, God bless. That's great. I mean, then then Kruger's had a great effect, but the Leafs are one of the top 4 teams in the Atlantic, and that they will make the playoffs. If they don't, then Babcock is done.
Right. I think the biggest thing right now for the Leafs is positioning themselves for the playoffs, because nobody's going to have faith in them playing the Bruins. Whenever that happens, you're going to look at that series, and Vegas is going to bet against the Leafs. Everybody is going to bet against the Leafs, except for maybe Leafs fans. But that's what you have to try and avoid. If you can't avoid that, I don't know how the season works out anyhow.
Yeah, they're almost better off. They're almost better off finishing in the wild card. But then they play Washington, and Washington, it gives them as much of a tough
time. As Washington, there's a chance, because Boston seems to be in their heads. I don't think Washington necessarily in their heads. Maybe Ovechkin is now, but I doubt it.
Yeah,
they'll finish in the wild card and play Boston.
Yeah, they did. Right there you go. They just don't play the game, the type of game, and I've said this for years. They do not play the type of game that is conducive to beating the Bruins or beating the Caps. They are, and Dubas has doubled down on being a completely speed and skill team. And then and only in the against Washington on Tuesday, they showed a little bit of pushback, but they had to have Tom Wilson run a couple of their defensemen to show any kind of spine and say you can't do that.
Yeah, but I don't think one guy saves it. Like if they traded for Matt Martin, I don't think that saves them from this problem, because it's a team toughness thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. Morgan Rielly started cross-checking somebody who took a run at Matthews. Freddie Gauthier stood up for Barry after he got that. So if you do that, at least that diffuses some of the ability of some of these teams to say we can push them around and they're not going to do anything. If they do something,
I think what we're saying without saying it is the Leafs really missed Zach Hyman probably way more than they thought they would.
And Zach Hyman isn't exactly a goon.
More than they should.
He's tough in the corners.
Right. I mean, they've got enough talent. They should not miss him this much.
They do.
But question. I mean, one thing's for sure: if the Leafs are definitely out of the playoffs, they've got a lot of players they could trade at the trade deadline.
They're not trading anybody at the deadline.
A lot of UFAs. I mean, they've got a lot of defense.
Yeah, but they will not do that. They will.
Saying that if they were out, they would.
I know they're going to go to the bitter end. They can't. Imagine if they bailed on this season, what the effect would be on their fan base.
I know they can't. I'm just saying that, and I don't think they're going to be. I mean, I picked them to finish first, so I'm going to stay with my pick. I still think they're going to make it, but I'm just saying the Babcock thing is if they aren't, like that. Yeah. That it's not a guarantee, and they won't, because you're never going to get the slightest sign from them that they could be traded, that they could fire him. I mean, they're never going to give you if they fired him, it would never be like, you wouldn't hear somebody like saying suddenly the Babcock's job's in jeopardy. You wouldn't hear that. It would just happen because they're so good at controlling their messages.
True.
And that's what my source said, and he really feels strongly about it. So we'll see.
And last thing, stuttering guitarist in the chat says they miss Kadri. Yeah, they miss Kadri when he gets suspended for stupid things in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, Kerfoot's done a good job. I don't think they're missing Kadri.
Honestly, they're the most
successful. Amazing in Colorado, though. We have to admit that. Kadri.
No. But wait till he gets suspended for
taking punches. Right,
taking a baseball swing at Connor McDavid's head.
This is 20 games in the middle of the season, then they're not going to be thrilled.
If he had better impulse control, I would have had no problem keeping Kadri. He's just stupid on the ice. He makes stupid plays.
Yeah, but with Toronto was his team as a kid. He always wanted to play for Toronto. I mean, the whole process of getting suspended, getting traded out of there, that may have woken him up. You never know.
Maybe. We'll see. I mean, there's a lot of season.
If anything, this would have, I think so.
There's a lot of season left.
Let's talk about the goaltending tandems, because that's an interesting.
Yeah. I was trying to go through my top 10 goalie tandems so far this season, and it's a little tricky because part of it has to be, I'm not just basing it on stats, because stats wise, it's kind of fascinating who the top 10 would be. So I guess we'll go from number one down.
Okay.
Should we go 10-1 or 1-10? What do you guys think?
10-1.
10-1.
And give us 2 or 3 each
Yeah,
time.
I'll start with number 10, which would be Hutton and Ullmark from the Sabres.
Okay.
And that's kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, I think that at best they're in the like sort of 15 to 20 category because you have no number one. You have a tandem here. Hutton is a glorified backup. And Ullmark could be the number one if he continues to have, he's performed pretty well this year, but they're going to go with Hutton because Hutton has the experience.
Yeah.
But they really don't have a number one, and it's sort of like they're flailing about 1A, 1B, going back and forth, whoever the hot goalie is, and they're really waiting for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen in a couple.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're going to go save percentage-wise, I was doing it basically based on,
they're playing great right now, Ak. That's
Hutton's 10th in the NHL, and Ullmark is 6th. So, I mean, you have 2 of the top 10, which I think puts you at least in the top 10. I mean, because when you think about two of your goalies are in the top 10, that really should put you maybe in the top 5.
If they continue to play this way, the Sabres will make the playoffs. My assertion is they will not continue to play this way.
I can tell you, as much as I like Linus Ullmark, he's not going to end the season with a 932 save percent.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with you guys. But that's why I put him at 10 because honestly, they should be higher than that right now based on how they've done so far.
Okay.
Next one is kind of interesting too. I thought these guys would be Markstrom and Demko out in Vancouver. Vancouver is really becoming a force. They really are. The interesting thing about this is Markstrom, if you go save percentage wise, is 27th in the NHL.
Right.
Demko is 2nd.
But that is a symptom of the sort of wide open offensive play that the Canucks do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Markstrom is basically the Western Conference version of Freddie Anderson. He's playing well, but his save percentage is lower because he gets so many shots against. So yeah, I would take that. That's fine.
So there, I had that.
You know how I feel about Demko. I mean, again, as much as I love this kid, he's not going to end the season with a 941 save percentage.
Right.
I think like I saw talked before. I think he's one of the best goalies in the world. All right. Number 7, Koskinen and Smith.
Who is 8?
Yeah, sorry. Go back to 8th would be Varlamov and Greiss out of in on the island. Go ahead.
No.
Why?
Because Varlamov's not going to hold it up, or he's going to get hurt. Greiss is off to a great start, and Greiss is a good goalie. He'll tail off a little, but I could see Greiss being in this list. I can't see Varlamov holding it.
The best pairing. So when your Greiss is technically your backup, is 6th in save percentage in the NHL right now.
Right. Okay. In the here and the now, with the Islanders winning 7 games in a row, I understand why you put it there. But the thing is, again, this is a situation where you have no number one. Varlamov is injury prone. He gets hurt every year, and Greiss is not a number one goaltender. Now, are they both, would they be like really good, like 30-game backup someplace? Yes, but neither one is a good starter.
Okay. I mean, I think, I don't think either one. I think both were. I think Greiss was definitely built to be a tandem goalie,
right.
And Greiss and Leonard was a great thing. But yeah, I think these guys deserve to. I mean, obviously they deserve to be there right now. They're one of the best team defensive teams in the NHL too. I mean, that is a deep. There's no question in the system. I mean, you can look at what Leonard's done in Chicago versus what he did on the island. The system plays into it for sure.
Will Varlamov be healthy for the playoffs? He wasn't last year.
Yeah, no, that's a tough one for them. But they are right now. I mean, they're killer team.
7.
And this list, remember, is top 10 goalie tandems this season so far. Okay,
right.
That's what this is.
Oh no, we get it. It's the hottest of hot takes. Got it.
So yes, there you go. Number 7, and these guys could be higher, but I put them Koskinen and Smith from Edmonton.
Oh my God.
Why not? Why wouldn't they be?
Oh my God, they could be one of the worst tandems in this league.
I completely disagree with you. How can they be one of the worst tandems in the league?
Because Mikko Koskinen is an overpaid backup. He's $4.5 million, and the only reason that the Edmonton Oilers are winning games is because Connor McDavid and Draisaitl make up 60% of their offense. They're brutal.
Well, right now, Koskinen 922.
I know.
That's 919. I mean, we're talking about two guys. Basically, if your goalies are around 920 as a tandem, That's
Sure. Smith is capable of holding it. Koskinen is not.
Yeah, no.
We'll see. I mean, I don't know about that. Koskinen's 5-1, guys.
Keep going. This is entertaining. I love this. Keep going.
He's 5-1, Koskinen.
Right.
He's 5-1. He's 5-1. What do you say about that? All right. Anyway. All right. Next up, since you guys like this list so much.
6.
All right.
Oh, we can tell you worked hard.
Next up, I have Murray and Jarry in Pittsburgh.
No, and they might be in my book. They might be higher, but that's
actually no. Sorry, I skipped another one. Damn, that's number 5.
I was going to say they should be higher.
They're number 5. 6, I have Ranta and Kemper out in Arizona.
Well, I think that's fair.
If both of them were healthy at the same time, I would say you're right on, because there's always, like, I think the game in Buffalo on Monday was like the first or second game where they were both healthy at the same time. They still have Eric Comrie on their roster because I'm not 100% sure that their goalies are, but they're both, they both performed well, and Arizona's in the playoffs right now. I mean, or they're in a spot where they would be in the playoffs. So, okay, fine.
No, right now I'm okay with that.
Kemper's 5th in the NHL right now in save percentage. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy about this list? And this is absolutely insane to me. Robin Leonard, where do you think he is save percentage in the NHL right now?
Probably under 900.
Yeah.
You'd think that, right? That's what I thought.
Well, I know he faced 51 shots against Nashville a couple days.
That's where it is. He faced a lot of shots, so maybe that's what's.
Faces a ton of shots. Shots against. Let's see if I can see the shots against number for him. He has faced 219 shots against in 6 games. Anyone want to figure that? That's like almost. That's 35 a game. Roughly.
Yeah, that's a testament to the Blackhawks' awful defense.
Yeah.
He is 4th in the NHL in save percentage. Robin.
Yeah, because he does face a crap load of shots, and he is a good goalie. He is
936 save percentage.
Yeah.
That's just, I mean, so like I'm sorry, he doesn't look good when he does the problem with Robin Leonard, and this is why last year I did all these fun things with Leonard and Grice. I mean, obviously I don't hate to rip on Leonard; he's been through so much. I'm just saying, but as a goaltender, he makes me really uneasy, and he really looks bad when he's scored on, like more than any other goalie in the NHL. Just for whatever, but he does make some killer saves too. So it's
he does. Look, right now he is a workhorse. Even Crawford staying healthy is a workhorse. I've watched a fair amount of Blackhawks games. They're under siege, those goalies.
Yeah.
I can't argue with this. I'm not going to argue it.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, it's absolutely crazy. All right, so that's all right. So getting back to my thing, sorry here. That is number
5.
6. That was Ranta and Kemper 6. 5 is Murray and Jarry.
Right. I have no problem with that one.
And they've been really good. I mean, Jarry
really solid. Could be higher in my book. Yeah.
Jarry is 3rd in save percentage in the NHL at 939. That's pretty crazy. And Murray is 12th. So you're talking about, they should definitely be in the top 6. At least because their 2 goalies are in the top 12.
Right.
Yeah, so that's really, to me, yeah, they've been much better than people kind of.
I have 3 pairings right now that I think are better than all these, but I want to hear
where to go. Number 4, Russ, you'll like this one. I did it. Gibson and Miller in Anaheim. Yeah,
that's very just, because I think we forget Miller's there, but he's had some really good games.
Yeah, Miller has been crazy this year. So Miller so far is number 8. He's his 929 save percentage, 210 goals against average.
I mean, what is he, 37?
Yeah.
He hasn't lost yet. He's 3
crazy good for them.
I mean, it's just nuts, And Gibson, who everybody loves, is number 16. So it's number 8 and 16.
We almost forget Ryan Miller's there. That's the sad part.
It's crazy. Gibson is 5 and 6. So but having a goalie,
he's under siege.
He's under siege, no question about it. Having a goalie Gibson has played 11 games and given up 323 shots. So
I think, he hasn't given him up. His defense
has faced 323 shots.
You know what I think though, Eck, and I don't have a stat for this, but I thought I heard this the other day, that he's faced like the most point blank shots in the league too.
I think point blank, yeah, because their defense is that crazy. I do agree. That's really the case. All right, so now it brings us to the top 3. Okay.
Right.
Number 3. I have Price and Kincaid. And this one, it's kind of tricky because statistically, they're really not doing it. But this is another case of where they are absolutely facing point blank shots. Like I watched.
Kincaid was last night, right?
Was it last night? Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, I'll check.
I think he was.
Yeah, I'm looking to see what's Kincaid here on the. I'm trying to see where he even is on this list as far as save percentage goes. He's not high at all. He's he's number 53 save percentage wise. So he's not played that well. But Price is going to play so many games that
It was Kincaid.
It was. I mean, I thought from what I saw a little bit last night that Kincaid looked good. He will rebound. Like, he'll go through these spells, but he is rock solid. Like, you don't have to worry about Keith Kincaid.
Right.
Yeah.
You can play Kincaid 25 to 30 games, and he's not Price, but at least he'll provide you with competent backup goaltending, and you can take the burden off of Price, and that's the big thing for the Canadiens. If they want to make the playoffs, which I don't think they're going to, but if they're going to make the playoffs, they need a healthy and rested Price to give him the best that he can in a 55 to 60 game season.
Yeah, they do. They really do. And they need Kincaid to be better than he's been so far. But
he will be.
Okay, number 2.
All right, number 2, Pecorine and Saros.
No,
sorry.
Rene, yes. Saros, no.
Saros is having a bad year.
Yeah.
Again, this is the kind of situation. Saros is having a rough season so far. I do agree with you.
Okay.
And this is, again, not statistically, but this team has, what is it? I'm looking at the crazy thing about the Predators is they've given up the second fewest goals in the league and scored the second most right now.
Sure, but they have
the Preds. I mean, that's an enormous.
They have rock solid defense. I am not giving this to them. No.
No, they have rock solid defense, no question. And Saros has been, not great. I agree with you. He's number 50.
No, not great. He's been bad.
He's been bad, but I still like the combination.
Okay.
So a little bit, maybe I'm going a little bit going against myself here by saying so far, but I think that I'm going to say that I still think that combination.
Well, I still have my 3, so I'm waiting for the number 1 to see who the number.
Well, your number 1 is obvious. Okay, that's Rask and Halak. Okay, so.
Okay.
Obviously, everyone's number 1 right now.
Yeah.
But Rask is number 1 in save percentage in the NHL right now. Halak is number 18. They are both, if you go by save percentage, goals against average, Rask is a ridiculous. He's 6-0 with a 1.41 goals against average. He's running away with the Vezina right now. It's just not even close. I don't think there's anybody else that's close to him right now for the Vezina. But and Halak, who is has played 5 games, is 3-1, 3-1-1, 919, 259. So they're the best. I mean, they are the best. So Mike, you have 2 more that should be in the top 10 that aren't.
Yeah, one is Holtby and Samsonov in Washington. I think that Samsonov is their future number 1, and they're using him more this year. And they're playing great. Now Holtby, isn't playing as great as he has in the past, but I think that Samsonov, they think he's their number 1. I'd be surprised if they re-sign Holtby. The other one,
let me talk about that for a second, because I'll tell you why I didn't put them on the list. Granted, I didn't put them on the list because in my opinion, when you're looking at duos, okay, you can't. This is not just even Steven. This is your starter has to be really good right now. Like to me, like if your starter's Holtby, and he is not, and I hope he is, like I was just looking on here. He is he's like 47th in save percentage, 888 save percentage at 3.55 goals against average. Right. I mean, granted, he's still 5-1-3. He's only lost 1 game in regulation because that's how good that team is.
Yeah.
But they've only given up 200. He's only given up. The team has given up 260 shots in 10 games. So you're looking at 26 shots a game.
Yeah.
And Samsonov has been good, but he's not that good. He's been better than him, but he's number 31. So you're looking at 2 goalies out of the top 30. So it's kind of hard to put them in the top 10.
And Bardakis says that, we mentioned the Rangers with Georgiev and Lundqvist.
They a ton of shots.
I wouldn't put them in the top 10 because, and I told you this, because I think Georgiev is one of the best backups in the league, but Lundqvist at 37 or 38 years old is not one of the top 10 starters in the league. The one I have, and their team has not played well this year. I still think that eventually they will make the playoffs, and one of the reasons they'll make the playoffs is because of their goaltending tandem is Dallas with Ben Bishop and Khudobin.
Yeah, that's a really good tandem.
It is potentially a good tandem, but like you say, so far,
it was good last year. The only key there is Bishop staying healthy, and if he did most of last year. So Khudobin is a former starter who can play 25 to 30 games.
I mean, if you're willing to not go 100% by stats with Montreal, then I think you should be willing to do that with Dallas.
Yeah, but I have to go with the reason I'm not going 100% by stats with Montreal is that, okay, Carey Price has struggled, but he is. I'm watching him play. He's still winning. He's winning games. He's winning them games. He flat out is winning the games for them. Where Bishop hasn't been. Like Bishop's 3-5-1. He's 25th in save percentage. And the other guy is Hudobin is 2-3. He's 2-3, and he's 41st in save.
I mean, you simply can't base it on their stats so far. Because
but you can also base it on. I'm basing it on a combination of things. Okay, so the way the things put together is, first of all, I'm going on how good your starter is. Okay, your starter, and there's no question Bishop is a good. I'm a big Bishop fan. I think he's the best American-born goalie playing right now, and I think if I was putting an Olympic team together, he would be my guy. But I also think, like you say, he gets hurt a lot, and he has been inconsistent. And I think that's going to be an issue there. And I think that, and I'm not as big on Hudobin as you guys are, for sure. I mean, I'm just not. Like, I think that, I mean, he's good, but he's not like the stellar backup. And not to say Kincaid is either, but Price is better than Bishop. That's just my.
I mean, last year for his GSAA, Bishop was the best in hockey, and considering that team, good defense but not great. If you're willing to give Carey Price the benefit of the doubt, you should be willing to give Bishop the benefit of the doubt, because he was better than Price last year with the extra goalie stat that really does mean something.
All right, let's go. I'll go to the GSAA right now, where they are. Okay.
So Bishop is right now because he's getting killed right now. But I'm going by last year because you're willing to go last year with Price too.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I mean, I get it.
No, he doesn't have a good GSAA. I agree.
Actually, he's better than Price so far. Bishop is, and GSAA. But the number 2 in GSAA is Robin Leonard right now. So that's like,
that doesn't shock me though. I mean,
that's kind of crazy for Chicago to be so bad. Like, I really thought that if they got good goaltending, they would be better.
They have good goaltending, but you could only. This is what I try and tell people in this era. When you've got guys that score even on the fourth line, like guys that used to score on the second line 20 years ago, that great goaltending isn't enough anymore. Just saying a goalie is standing on his head is not enough anymore. If you don't have a defensive structure, you are done. If you're slow on defense like Chicago is, and you can't work it in transition, you're done. A goalie can face so many 2-on-1s in this league.
No, you're right. Flamester on the message board wanted to know about Rittich and Talbot.
Oh my God, they could be one of the worst.
And so far statistically, they haven't been very good. And Rittich is 37th in percentage. Talbot is ahead of him. I think he's higher.
This is the puzzling thing. We all looked at Calgary, like when we did our season preview of Calgary, and everybody assumed that when Talbot was brought in, that Talbot
would be the guy,
that he'd be the starter, and it's been Rittich, and they're 500 right now, and that's a team that shouldn't be 500. So
it made no sense to me that Talbot would be the starter, actually, because Talbot, that's a team that won the Western Conference, right?
Well, you're saying Mike and I are stupid. Okay, we can live with that.
I'm not saying we're stupid. I'm just saying that Rittich is their goalie for the future. They brought in Talbot to be a backup.
Yeah, but that's the problem. He's not a goalie of the future.
They've overvalued him.
He proved it last year when they decided to go with a 38-year-old Mike Smith in the playoffs.
Yeah. No, you're right. I agree. I mean, Lundqvist, by the way, 36th in right now in save percentage, and Georgiev's 11th. So he's definitely been better so far.
Oh, yeah, no, Georgiev's been great. I mean, both those guys faced a lot of bad, high-quality chances.
Yeah.
It's starting to get better, though. It's starting to turn around a little bit for them.
Yeah.
Not that they took Mark Stahl out, but that's a whole other conversation for a whole other day.
The other interesting thing on this list, so I mean, if we were to do, we got to go, I know, but if we were to do the worst tandems in the league, it's another fun thing to do. But
well, right now the Flyers is one of the worst.
The Flyers are one of the worst. Carter Hart would be. I mean, he's 8th worst.
Howard and Bernier in Detroit.
Yeah.
Here.
I mean, yeah, it's hard. Elliott was player of the week, so it's hard to put them like completely.
Well, not 31st, but probably 28th.
One of the worst.
He's in the 20s. I'll give you that.
Yeah. I mean, Ottawa's down there.
The real tough one to do was Marc-Andre Fleury, because it's like, you start to think about like, okay, how good Marc-Andre Fleury is, and he's playing all the time. But we talk about Vegas, like there's an incredible thing what Vegas did, and you just wonder, like if Marc-Andre Fleury is never a part of that team, if they didn't get Marc-Andre Fleury on Vegas,
they don't win anything.
They're an expansion team like every other expansion team.
He's like Turk Broda, man. They're putting him out there every night.
I mean, he's like 8th in save percentage. Okay, so and then and his other goalies in save percentage, other goalies who played for the Jets. I mean, for the Knights. Garrett Sparks 26th. Gary Sparks is 59th, and Subban and Dansk are 63 and 64, the two worst save percentage.
Of course. Yeah, they don't have anything there.
I mean, think about how much how is he not the MVP?
I'll tell you this. If this were the old NHL, like where I said that Jacques Plante played all 70 games, if this were a 70-game season, Fleury would play all 70 games.
Yeah. I mean, it is just absolutely nuts.
One thing before we end, Ak, it was like I was on the radio with Dennis Bernstein from the fourth period yesterday, and he reported on Wednesday that Pierre Dorian, the Sens GM, was in LA to watch the Kings play. I think it was the Canucks. He's sort of and when we talked about it, he thinks that there's the possibility of an Ottawa LA deal. Now we had those two teams combined for the Gabrick Phaneuf deal, and we've heard the chatter about Bobby Ryan. Russ and I talked about it yesterday. If a guy like Jeff Carter is involved in this, I don't know how a team takes him in a deal when they know what he did in Columbus a few years ago.
Carter will not go there because he has a full no trade, I was told, and he will not let them trade him.
So, I mean, I honestly, I do not envy Rob Blake in his situation. The only other thing I can think of is maybe it's Dustin Brown, because Dustin Brown's got a long term. And he's, even though he has diminishing skills, I think he's a heart and soul guy. He's a guy who's
what I do? If I'm Rob Blake, I trade Jeff Carter's best friend on the team.
Yeah, well, that's
upset him for the rest of the year.
Russ,
I don't think he cares. I mean, I think he lives in Manhattan Beach. I think he just likes life. I mean, he likes his life.
At some point, he's going to care if he doesn't like the team he's on.
That's what Punch Imlach did in '79. He traded Lanny McDonald to Colorado because he couldn't trade Daryl Sittler.
Right.
I don't think that matters to Jeff. I don't think that matters at all. Yeah, it could, but I don't know. It's possible. He definitely doesn't want to go anywhere. That's for sure. He's not going to. And I think that. I mean, I do think that. I would like to see Bobby Ryan go to LA, though. I would like to see that. I think that would be a good move for him. But we'll see. I really do want to see Bobby Ryan. Obviously, just from my hometown, so I'm always pulling for Bobby.
You might be able to find a better pizza place than the King of Pizza. That's for sure.
Yeah, pizza's way better.
Celeste.
All right.
Talking that's frozen, Mike. This is a regular pizza place.
I know.
All right. That's all the time we have for today, guys. Thanks again for watching. Have a wonderful weekend. And remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey.